I preach the Lord, you seek the Lord, I reach the Lord, I teach the Lord's word.
Yeah.
Fam, do you understand? Like Granny said, this is God's plan. On a Sunday, praying with the fams.
Yeah.
On a Sunday, praying with the fams.
In our life.
Yo, it's
In
going on,
everybody's
guys?
life.
Your brother Antonio here. It's been a long time. Took a long time to get where I'm at. But I'm here. I'm definitely here. The lights are bright. It's hot in my house. Yo, my dad always complains about my house being hot, bro. I'm not even Yo, I'm not even gonna lie to you. It's hot in the house still. I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. It's hot. The lights is hot. I'm gonna turn this down still. I'll turn it down because it's definitely hot. I'll hit the wrong button too. That's crazy work. But yo, it's been a long time, man. Took me a lot of energy to get here, guys. You know, I've been telling a lot of people the podcast is coming back up. You know, the podcast is coming. I didn't forget about it. But I ended up doing it. I said, yo, I'm not going to do it. Procrastinated. Tripped out about it. Said, nah, not today. Last week I was supposed to drop it, didn't do it. You know, this week I was supposed to do it Monday. Didn't do it. But still told a lot of people. You see what I'm saying? But tonight's the night, you know, and I don't want to let a lot of people down. Because, you know, I got to give people that hope. I got to impact the people, you know. I got to share my story. A lot of people don't know what happened to me, you know. A lot of things has transpired, to be honest, since February 22nd, 2024, which was last year, you know. A lot of things have happened. Now, when I did do the podcast, I remember saying, you know, once I get the ball rolling, I ain't never gonna stop. And it stopped, you know, like it stopped. But, you know, I can't believe the amount of impact I made on people. You know, it blew my mind, like how much people it reached, and, you know, even parts of the world that I didn't even expect people to watch it. You know, it reached those types of places. And it was a blessing, you know, it was definitely a blessing. It was something that I know God called me to do, and I did it in that moment. And I wasn't ashamed of it. I wasn't like, man, I need to get back on it. It was just, I had a seizure, you know, guys. You know, I had a crazy seizure February 22nd, 2024. A cluster seizure. It was really hectic, you know, really hectic. I had one seizure at my house. Usually it feels like I'm napping, you know. I was on my bed, just relaxing, laying down, and woke up. You had that same look on my wife's face of just shock. I said, yo, what happened? She said, yo, you had another seizure. And I said, no, another one? That's crazy, bro. Obviously, you know, ambulance came through and, you know, did the whole routine, got all my stuff together, kissed the wife goodbye, you know, and headed to the hospital. Went to the hospital, you know, ended up seeing my dad there. You know, this was right after my birthday. I had a great birthday. You know, first time I actually invited a whole bunch of people to my house. I usually don't do that, but obviously had the podcast going off, you know, made some shirts, had a little photo shoot that I didn't even put out yet. I was going to make merch for, you know, my podcast. I was going to, you know, get some merch going and all of that. Like everything was on the up and up, you know, like I was like ready to get this thing going, but kind of conservative, you know, I kind of hold things tight to the chest, you know, but great birthday. I had a whole bunch of people reach out. everything was amazing. And, you know, obviously, you know, February comes, have the seizure, go to the hospital. I'm there, you know, my dad's there. He was kind of skeptical about the seizure and stuff, but he came through. Had one of my pastors from my church come through. A couple of my small group brothers come through. They were all there. We're all laughing and talking. At this time, I was talking to my cousin who was in St. Vincent, you know. I was helping him out through some tough times, you know, and just speaking to him, you know, through some things, helping him out, talking to my dad about that stuff, you know, and laughing it up. And in the hospital, I go through like a focal and just, I tripped out and, bro, had another seizure in the hospital. And, you know, that's where my dad, like, obviously recognized, like, yo, this is some crazy stuff. He actually witnessed me go through the seizure, you know, and I blacked out, woke up again, and was just there, you know, I was just there looking back at, like, what happened that day, and woke up again, and I must have had another seizure, you know, and I can't even recall that stuff, you know, and stuff was scary, to be honest, you know, and I must have had two or three seizures in the hospital, which is now, it's called a cluster seizure. I've never had one of those before, so, you know, all I remember was just in and out, and, you know, my dad and, you know, the brothers in Christ were there praying for me and whatnot, and it was a tough time. It was definitely a tough time, you know, and just chilling out in the bed, you know. Really have no recollection of that night, to be honest with you. And, you know, obviously those guys had left in the night. My dad had to leave. And I was just there in the night, waking up. They were asking me a whole bunch of questions and whatnot, you know, and went back to bed. Woke up in the morning, you know, and just chilling, you know, and I was definitely out of it. The drugs they had on, the drugs that I was on, yo, the drugs that they put me on was some crazy stuff, bro, like crazy stuff. Anyways, I woke up in the morning, you know, and they must have said it's time to go, you know. They told me what they told me. What they told me, I had no idea up until this day, you know. My memory's shot due to, you know, my condition and the drugs that I'm on right now. And I can't even remember that day, you know, and I think my dad came and got me. And he reminded me, like, months later, like, I wanted a wheelchair. I don't even remember that. And, you know, my dad parks, like, far away. He doesn't want to pay for parking. Yo, this guy is a crazy guy, bro. So, like, he told me I had to walk up the hill to a place. So I'm like, yo, you made me walk that far, bro? Under the type of heavy drugs I was on? That's crazy, dog. Like, what? I couldn't believe it, you know? But anyways, like, and when we recalled that whole story, he's like, bro, you don't remember none of that? I'm like, nah. And I guess he couldn't believe that I couldn't remember. And I'm like, yo, Dad, yo, my brain shuts off, dog. Like, I don't think you understand. Like, my brain chips out. Like, it's gone. I'm not there, you know? But I guess he really realized, like, yo, my son's really messed up, you know? And, like, it kind of took him back. And he's like, yo, that's wild. Like, he didn't remember none of that day. And I think that was the first time he really recognized, like, yo, my son really has this condition. And it's a serious thing, you know? So that was kind of that day. And they had me on this drug called Dialatin. And they used to administer that drug as a normal drug for epilepsy. And I don't want to give too much away because it's going to kind of be things I'm going to be doing going forward with the Crossroads Podcast. So I'll kind of touch more on those things later on. But I was super messed up. from February all the way to like August, like really messed up. The next like 2 weeks to a month, I couldn't do nothing, man. Like I remember I was like coaching like basketball for Noah and Miles, and I was doing so many things before. Like I was really like, I wouldn't say active, but like I was living like kind of a normal life. And after this cluster seizure, I was really not normal anymore. And like that's where my life really changed. And it was tough, man. It was tough. And I really had to like change a lot of my life. And this is one of the reasons why you guys haven't seen me for a really long time, and I'm kind of still trying to figure things out, and I didn't forget about you guys. I can tell you that, there's many of you guys have reached out to me. This is still a very small podcast. I've done this for my friends, co-workers, people in my community, people who I grew up with, people in my church family, people who I see on the roads, people who know me through friends of friends, family members, people who I see. So, it's a tight-knit group. So, I talk to all you guys. This is something that, it's not for the rest of the world, even though, I did reach some people throughout the world, which has been a blessing, is because the people who know me shared it with people that they knew, and then those people shared it with people they knew. So it's really what was my goal, was to, start off small, and it created a ripple effect. So it was a blessing, that's why you guys didn't see me for a very long time. That's kind of why I was, AKA dead on social media. I don't post nothing in my life. I'm very reserved in that sense. I'm 36. I'm from the older generation. We don't really like to be online like that. Here and there I share 1-2 things. But when I did do this podcast, I really had to step out of my comfort zone and put myself out there. And that was massive for me. So with this now, I'm stepping back out, ready to do my thing again. And I will be doing things a little bit different. But that is really where I have been, is just dealing with this new Tony. I'm still me, I'm still funny. I'm still the outgoing guy, but I can't hide from the fact that I'm not who I once was. I'm not what I used to be, I'm still struggling with that stuff. Once again, I will be touching on those subjects. I got a lot more in store, but this is the first podcast back to let you guys just understand, where I've been in this year, plus actually, because it's going on, I think 15 months. Yeah, 15 months I'll be going on without you guys actually seeing me. And actually that's going to be the longest time I haven't had a seizure, which is super cool. I haven't gone longer than 15 months. And when I tell people that, they're like, yo, they're giving God the glory, and they're happy for me. And they're like, that's amazing, hallelujah, and things like that. And I'm like, yeah, that's sick. I'm happy, but at the same time, it's like, am I closer to having another seizure? You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm always in that realm of like, yo, I'm happy. At the same time, it's like, is one around the corner? You know what I mean? So that's kind of something I'm always, not always, looking for, but when you're dealing with a condition that I have, it's something that I'm always aware of and have to be precautious, not dwelling upon it, but as you say, it is what it is. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's kind of what it is, So right now it's just a freestyle, and just updating you guys on what's going on, and just sharing the story of my last seizure, and that's kind of what's going on. People in my church, they still think I'm working. Some people see me, they think I'm working. I haven't worked in 4 years. May 6th, 2021 was the last time I ever worked. I haven't worked since. I don't really share my business. It's actually kind of a cool way when someone asks me like, yo, you're still working? I'm like, nah, man, I'm not working. And then I'm able to tell them what's going on. And then they're like, whoa. But then they see me live my life. They see what I do. They see how I am. And they're shocked because like, yo, you're not working for that long and you have this condition. But like, I've seen you for X amount of days and weeks and years, and I would have never knew. So it's always a great way to be able to share my testimony with people, because it's like, I'm not down and out, so it's a great way. I don't like to put up my business out there, but it's a great way to just show people how my attitude is and how my faith is strong, and just another way to evangelize to people and just show people how God is working in my life, which is another kind of pod that I'm going to be doing. So yeah, man, I got a lot of things in store, you know what I mean? And I'm just grateful, I'm alive. That's the greatest blessing. Been dealing with a lot of things, mentally, physically, emotionally, even with my condition. Every day is a different day for me. So, I have these things called focal awareness seizures. We'll be touching upon that too. So it's just a type of seizure that I have that I don't black out, you know what I mean? But I have them. I do stutter. I do mess up with my speech. If you didn't notice, it happened a couple of times already throughout this podcast. Before I'd probably try to edit it. That's one of the things I'm not going to do. I want you guys to see through my podcast that I do have these things, and I want even people who struggle with any of these types of conditions that they can see someone that has this epilepsy, that I'm not afraid to just be me, you know what I mean, and work through these things. So yeah, man, these are the things that has happened with that whole episode with the cluster seizure. So other than that, what have I been doing since? I just reverted from reaching people online to just reverting back to what I was doing before. Was I said, well, if I can't actually do the online Crossroads thing, I just said, well, Tony, just reach the people outside, like what I was always doing, right? So at my church, shout out to Hope Markham, Bible Church in Markham, obviously, Ontario. That is where I go to. That's my local church. I serve there in the welcoming team, as a welcoming guy, obviously at the front doors, and a couple other things. I have a small group there, very solid church there. Been going there for 9 years. Been integral in my walk and helping me stay solid in my walk and faithful. Love it there. Beautiful, it's really been integral in just keeping me grounded, especially in these last 4.5 years, great leadership there, you know what I mean? I'm very thankful for them there. They've helped me tremendously, and my family supported me in many different ways, you know what I mean? Where am I going? Don't know. It's another thing that I struggle with my condition. I lose where I'm going. Trying to find why I said what I said. Bring it back. So what I was actually trying to go at was, my church has definitely helped me, right? Dealing with my situation. Yes. Okay. Found it. So why I was telling you guys this is, other than trying to do what I was doing online, I was just doing these things outside. So I was mentoring people, counseling people, helping people, evangelizing, serving at church, just being a husband and a father. Like I actually was actually purposefully trying to do what I was doing online in real life as much as possible, because I couldn't edit no more. I couldn't meticulously sit on the computer and do this thing like what I'm doing now, and then heavy edit and then go on Canva and then post every day and do it, because it was a lot what I was doing. And I think that added to why I had the seizure. There was a lot that happened when I had that seizure. I was dealing with CPP and LTD, and had some stuff going on in my personal life. There was a lot going on, and stress definitely is something that triggers me having a seizure. So there was a lot going on, especially financially, and trying to get some things going on at that time. And it was just trying to be faithful through it all. There was a lot of tests going on at that time, and it was really crazy, man, to be honest with you. I couldn't believe what's going on, but thankfully I made it through. Everything has settled down since. I literally just finally got the things settled out, with those financial situations. That, glory be to God for that. But it's really hard trying to be faithful, man, in this world, when people really want you to go and do some crazy stuff just to actually get things, instead of just being true and faithful to not lie and things like that, So it was really tough, but I did go through a lot of stressful things, from September 2023 up until February 2024. A lot of things was on my plate, and it did contribute to the seizure. So I learned stress definitely plays a part, once again, I'll touch upon that probably in my next episode. So I just continued trying to just be a crossroad person in real life, and that's really what I've been doing. I've been on the phone. I'm really, focused on mentoring people, discipling people, counseling people, and just being a brother to people, like I'm always, upfront. Hey, you need help? I'll help you. Hey, you're struggling? I'm here for you. Hey, you need discipleship? I'm here for you. Hey, what's going on? Do you want to talk? I'm here. Hey, what do you need? I got you. Like, I'm always like that, even this weekend, for Easter, it's so cool that the first pod I did, it was Christmas time, and I jumped on, and I said, hey, Christmas time, this is a time where we could talk about Christ, and now I'm back again, and it's after, Easter, and Christ, died, and then he resurrected, and now I'm back after that, which is like, it's so cool, like how the two times I decided to jump on, it's those two significant days, and it's not a coincidence, like this is a work of God. So, I only move by the Spirit, because I've been fighting to come back on this thing. But I mean, fighting, even fighting with myself. I struggle with, my own sin. I struggle to be, perfect, holy as God is holy. I hold myself to a very high standard. And, even coming on today, it's like, man, I got to check my list and make sure, like, oh my gosh, how am I living? And, am I ready for this? And, like, it's been a lot, man. Been a lot to get here. I'm fighting, I'm fighting to get on here, and like, but I just know, like, over the last like 3-4 months, God just putting people in my, in my life, and someone texting me, and my son's friends shooting me things, and people at my church, and just people around me like, yo, where's the podcast? Yo, even my, my sister-in-law, she made me, oh, there we go. She made me this Crossroads banner, and it's just, people are just, people wouldn't be doing these things if it didn't impact them. And I always been a person, if I impact one person, if this pod impacts one person, bro, that's all that matters to me. You know what I mean? Like, straight up. It's one person that gets this, bro. That's what matters to me. Because I only want the one person. Because if that one person gets it, then he can send it, or she can send it to a next person. That's how it's supposed to work. So I know how my faith, I know how I can impact people. I know that the way I speak, the way I conduct myself, the way that I control, the way that I just hold myself and just say the things that I say, it impacts people, even in my small group, the way I can just convey the words. And I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know what to say, but I know God has placed something in my voice to reach people. And, I think it's time. I think it's time to get back on this and be back. I need to be back to bless the people because God has given me this gift in my voice to reach people. It's too long. And, I'm ready for the people to receive God's mercy, God's grace through me, because I know what God has given to me is to show people to be encouraged, to be strong, to be faithful, and to see things from a different perspective. Once again, I also say there's a crossroads, right? There's a crossroads. And we need to understand, we all go through a crossroads every single day. And we need somebody to guide us. We need somebody to guide us. We need that one person that can be available, and me being at home, there's always someone calling me. And I pick that phone up every time because it's like someone needs that person to answer that phone and be like, yo, I need you, dog. I'm going through something right now. I need you, bro. And I'm there. What do you need? And I help them, and they're like, yo, you don't even know. I have nobody to talk to right now. And what you just said, thank you for that. So that's really what I had to say on that, and that's what I've been doing for this last 15 months is just helping people. I like to serve. I like to bless. I like to talk. I like to help. I care a lot. And to be honest with you, I just want to be there for people. I just want to be there for people, man. That's just to be honest with you. And as long as I'm there for people, I'm doing my job. With this epilepsy thing, I'm grateful for it. It's shown me a lot. And, I thank God for it. I always tell people that, and there's nothing I would do to change what I have, so that's really what I've been doing, taking care of my son, taking care of my wife, and just taking care of others, you know what I mean? That's to be honest with you, so I really hope that you guys understand where I've been. I didn't forget about you guys. I love you guys. I care about you guys, and I'm only back out here for you guys. And, I don't like making promises, but I'm going to do my best to try and come back out and, make more, pods and little short videos and things like that to help you guys, see what's going on, and just be an encouragement for you guys, see things from a different perspective and just be that guy for you guys, because I see things differently and I'm able to just say, yo, this is what it is. This is what it is. You know what I mean? This is what it is, straight up. I'm black and white, but I've learned to be a lot more, I don't have a name for that, but, I'm able to see things from, in a middle ground, but it's yes is yes and no is no with me more times, that's how it is, I stand on the truth, and sometimes you need a man to be like, yo, this is what it is, but I do speak in grace and love, so with that being said, I don't know if I'm missing anything else over the last 15 months. I probably am still. You know, I probably am. I could probably talk about my sons and my wife and things like that. I mean, that's kind of my personal life. You know what I mean? They're doing great. You know, they've been supportive. I guess I can tell you that. Been super supportive. You know, been really, really supportive. You know, they've helped me out a lot. You know what I mean? I guess I could talk about that too. You know, really supportive. You know, got a lot of people around me that's been helping me a lot. You know, definitely I've also this year I've lost two people. You know, I lost my grandmother. I lost my cousin, you know, in the last probably like 7-8 months. That was tough. That was tough on me. You know, crazy, man. I'm probably gonna have a podcast on that too, just dealing with loss, you know, dealing with just a lot of things that's connected to losing people and grieving and things like that, you know. So got a lot of thoughts in that, you know, but had to deal with those things and funerals and things like that, and you know what surrounds, you know, funerals and losses and family. And you know, lost my cousin. That one hit me. He was like a big brother to me. You know, I was part of his life, you know, at the ending of his life. You know, spoke to him a lot. You know, I helped him get through some things. You know, it hurt, man. Cried like a baby, man. And I don't really cry, you know, like I was crying crazy, man. You know, that was tough, you know. Shout out to my boy Joel, A.O. Millie. If you don't know his music, look him up, A.O. Millie. Subscribe. IG. Spotify. He's dropping a new EP soon. Actually, I think it's this week, to be honest. Holla at him. Really solid music. He's from the city. Really good music. That's my guy right there. But he was definitely there for me. He's been another great supporter in my corner. You know, he's got let me reverse that. He's been there for me a lot, you know. He's been another supporter in my life that I can say. I don't know what I would do if he wasn't there, you know. I don't really have a lot of close people in my life, you know. So, you know, shout out to him, you know. Great man, you know. Solid guy. He's young too, very young guy, you know, but very wise man, you know. I chop it up with him a lot, you know. Lives in Texas, but yeah, man, great supporter of who I am and just what we're about. Great brother in Christ, you know. So I'm grateful for him. You know what I mean? Love him to death, you know. So, you know, supporters, I would say, you know, my wife and my family, you know, A.O. Millie, you know, great guy. My church, definitely my church, all the people there, my small group, you know, shout out to my small group. They know who I am, you know, I know who they are. Meet every Sunday, you know, they've been integral through my walk, praying for me and just listening to me and helping me out. Even when I was in, you know, the sick bed in the hospital, they were there. You know, my dad has been there for a very long time. You know, we're really close, you know. All we do is laugh. Funny guy. Man. You know, this guy is the funniest guy in the world, man. I love that guy to death. You know, he's been there and, you know, we've grown a lot closer. My mom, you know, especially with losing her mother, I've been really close to her and we've had a great relationship. So even a greater relationship too, you know, even my brother, we've gotten a lot closer, you know. I'm glad for that. You know, think about other supporters that's been in my life, you know. Those are the ones I really can count on my hands. I don't really have too much, you know, but even like, you know, being in my word, you know, listening to biblical teaching, things like that, like that's what's really been grounding me. So, you know, you just got to make sure, you know, to be strong in your faith when you're going through some trials, because it could break, man. You need some key things in your life to stay strong in your faith, you know. Trust me, because trials will test you, you know, and I've been going through it for a very long time. And I'm here, you know, because of Christ. I'm definitely here because of Christ. If it wasn't for Christ, I'd be nothing. You know what I mean? I don't know what I'd be doing, you know, and I'm just grateful for that. I'm grateful for that. It's tough, man. It's tough to really just understand it. You know, sometimes I sit here and just wonder, like, yo, how am I here, yo? You know, how am I here? How did I make it? Like, how am I doing this? You know, like, it's wild, man. You know, for me to be here doing this again, I don't know, man. If you guys only understood, like, to be doing this here tonight, it took a lot of energy, you know. So I appreciate you guys, you know, and whoever watches this, I hope, you know, you guys understand that. I thank you guys, you know, I really do thank you guys. You guys are family, because it's really family who really watches this. You know what I mean? But whoever decides to jump on this and, you know, continue to see this stuff, I hope you guys gain something out of this, because, as I said, I want to get the ball rolling again, you know, and get some more viewers to see there's more to life than what you guys are going through. You know, there's meaning, there's purpose. And I want to show you guys the purpose. You know, I want to be practical and show you guys, like, yo, listen, I'm going to show you how you guys can get through life, you know. Trust me, there's more to life than what you think there is. I've been doing it, you know, 15 years in this game. Christ has shown me, proved to me, yo, he's the real one, you know. So with all that being said, moving forward, what's going to be happening is the avenue that I'm kind of going to be shifting into is speaking with me dealing with my epilepsy. Like, that's kind of where I'm going to be heading with. I'm not leaving the Crossroads idea, but I will be integrating my story of epilepsy and what I'm dealing with, just because I have epilepsy and I am changed. There's no doubt about I'm changed. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not the same person, you know. So I do want to speak to people who are struggling with mental health, who have epilepsy, you know what I mean? Like, people don't know about epilepsy. You know, like, they don't even understand, like the condition, the side effects, the drugs that people take and what it does, and just on a daily basis of how different each person, you know, what they deal with, you know what I mean? Like, what I have compared to what someone else that has epilepsy has, you know, like, just the day-to-day routines of what someone has and what they deal with, you know, and how that correlates to their faith, you know what I mean? Like, many people probably wonder, like, yo, I'm into faith, but I have this type of condition. Like, what do I do? You know, many people probably ask God, like, God, why am I struggling? Why do I have this? You know, I really want to touch on these subjects, right? Like, people who deal with hopelessness, you know, and I know we're living in this time where there's no hope, you know, and there's dread and grief, and people just feel like life is meaningless right now. I see it, you know. So I definitely want to kind of use my epilepsy as an avenue to kind of have a little bit of a shift in my podcast, to kind of touch on those subjects of dealing with my epilepsy as I do my podcast, because there are going to be times I might have a focal during my podcast. You know what I mean? As I said, you guys seen it. I forgot what I was saying. That's one of the things that happens. I can't say a word. You know what I mean? I might have a focal awareness seizure on the camera. You know, I might come off this recording and have a seizure, end up in the hospital. And that was one of my things why I had to switch up, because really one of the things that I wanted to do is, like, I wanted to pick back up where I left off. And that's why it took me so long to get back on this thing here, was because I really want to dive back in doing doctrine and theological things, and like the heavy evangelistic thing and like, yo, break down this and break down that and da-da-da-da-da. And that was a lot for me. So like I was really, tussling and fighting of like, yo, can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this? I need to go back to where I was. And I couldn't do that. So I was really fighting myself, and ended up talking to my doctor. And I was telling the doctor all these things I was struggling with. And this guy's like, bro, you need to go and speak to an epilepsy therapist. I'm like, I know, doc, but like, yo, I do this too, and this is happening. He's like, brother, you need to go and see an epilepsy therapist. I'm like, I know, but like, yo, this and this and this and this is happening. He's like, again, you need to talk to epilepsy therapist. I'm like, yo, I know, right? But yo, listen, and then this and this and this happened. He's like, again, I'm telling you, you need to see an epilepsy therapist. And in the back of my head, I'm like, bro, this guy sounds like me when I talk to somebody that I'm counseling. And I'm like, all right, man, I'm going to go and see this person. I'm going to talk to them, and I think it was like at the starting of March, I finally called the person, or no, I called the person, whatever. And I can't even remember what happened, but I must have called them, and I was supposed to, I don't even remember what happened, but I booked some type of thing, and then they called me and said like I have to go into the hospital for like 2 weeks to do some like testing. And that caught me off guard. I'm like, whoa, no, wait, nah. I thought I was on like a waiting list for 2 years. And then my wife was like, yo, what? That's wild. Like, where did this come from? And then a lady calls me and she's like, yeah, hey, this is such and such. I forgot I emailed the people about my concerns. And then I thought I was talking to another person. So I was all over the place. But anyways, short story was, it was the epilepsy therapist, secretary actually saying, hey, do you want to do the intake? So I said, yeah, let me do the intake. Anyways, I get to talk to the people, and I actually had like my first, talk with the therapist, and I went through a whole month, and it was beautiful, awesome. Got to talk to the person and had a great relationship with them and whatnot. Had like a group session, and I didn't even know, there was a day for epilepsy people, it was March 26th. And, I didn't even know all of this stuff. And because I don't like to dive too deep into things, because I'm a type of person, if I dive deep, I just go full force and I want to know everything possible. So, now I'm like, bro, like maybe I could be an advocate for them. The therapist is like, you're great at communicating. Maybe you could be like a facilitator of a group talk, and maybe you could be an ambassador for Epilepsy Toronto. And maybe, because you're a man of faith, maybe if we have a opening to go to a church, maybe we could have you tell a story, and maybe you could go to a school if we want to go to a school. I'm like, yo, miss, wherever you see me fit, use me. That's how I am. I don't care, So like, it was a way of a blessing, because at that point, I'm like, yo, maybe this is a way for me to get back into the podcast, because there's no way I can pick back up what I wanted to do. Maybe this is an avenue where I can use my epilepsy story and integrate it into my podcast now and talk about it in a different way and bring hope to people who are in the faith, who struggle with a lot of conditions. And maybe I could bring people who have conditions who like question God and things like that. So it was just a way where I'm like, yo, maybe, I can use this and propel me back into the podcast sphere, So, I thank God that I found this, because it's like, I was really fighting with myself to try to pick back up, and I couldn't pick it back up. I couldn't, because I knew I couldn't do what I could have done before, because it was a lot of heavy lifting, because I can't sit there and write all this script down no more. I'm not trying to edit, dead air and clip this and clip that and clip this and clip that. 'Cause I used to spend like 2-3 hours editing. I can't do that. I'm not using AI and all of that. I'm not doing all of that. Nah. I'm doing it myself. So I'm just going to be just recording and just putting it out. That's it. That's what I'm doing, and from now on, I'm going to have verses and things like that. You know what I mean? I have all my topics. I even forgot, like, I looked on my phone on my Google Notes, bro. I have a whole bunch of stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, I still have all of these topics. Wow. Like, I forgot that I had all of this content. I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Like, I can't remember a lot of things, man. So it's like, it's crazy to see all of these things. And I'm like, yo, this is, bro, I had a lot of things I had a lot of things. So this is what's going to be coming soon for you guys, and understand that, you know, I have a lot, you know, and bear with me. You know, this is the first of many episodes. This is just, you know, the year in review, if that's what you want to call it, or what happened in the past year and a bit, whatever you guys want to call it. I don't know. You know what I mean? You guys think about what you want to call it. But this is just to get you guys caught up on where Antonio's been, where Crossroads has been. It's not dead. It's just been relaxing, chilling out, you know, trying to regroup and figure out, okay, where can I take it and allow God to do what he needs to do with it. And now I'm here. So going forward, you know, as I said, I've found different things that I'm going to talk about. Crossroads is still going to be Crossroads. I'm still going to have, you know, the faith first things. I'm still going to be doing that stuff. But I am going to have specific things that I will be talking about, dealing with my epilepsy and how it can relate to my faith and helping people who do have mental issues and just, you know, things of that nature, who struggle, you know what I mean? And I want to shed light on my epilepsy, right? So with that being said, you know, my next episode will be dealing with faith and epilepsy. And I'll be going, you know, a little bit deeper and like showing you guys what I deal with and, you know, the various aspects of my epilepsy, my condition, and what I deal with on a daily basis, and how my faith has helped me. And I've touched on a couple of those things tonight, right? And just explain to you, you know, what epilepsy looks like for different types of people, giving you some stats and giving you some, you know, some things, because a lot of people have it. You know, you won't know, but you talk to somebody and they're like, oh, yeah, I was born with it, but it's gone. Oh, my mom has it. Oh, my cousin has it. Like, you don't know. It's like a silent thing. Once you ask a person about it, it's like, oh, someone knows about it, you know? So that'll be my next episode. We'll be talking about faith and my epilepsy, just to let you guys understand that. And then going forward, I will be, you know, back on my Crossroads. So that's what I'm going to be doing, guys. You know, it's a little bit long episode tonight, but I just want to let you guys know where I'm at, you know, and what I've been going through. And I'm grateful. You know, I got the first one off. I'm grateful. You know, now I feel good. You know, the rust is off. I'm good. I'm jiggy. You know what I mean? I'm happy, you know. Feels good, man. It feels good. You know, I'm back out here, you know, feeling really good. You know, and I hope that you guys understand where I'm coming from. I hope you guys understand that where I've been, you know, and where I'm trying to go to. And all that really matters, guys, is, you know, God has kept me. God has blessed me. And God's going to continue to provide for me. And he's going to allow me to be used for him to bless you guys. And then whatever I do for you guys take that and bless others. So you guys share this, leave some comments, like it, and continue to spread this to whoever needs the encouragement, whoever needs the what can I say? Whoever needs any type of love, care, and someone who would benefit from this. Because going forward, there's going to be a lot of knowledge and wisdom that I'm going to be giving out. And who doesn't need knowledge and wisdom and practical things in their life to move forward on a daily basis? That's what I'm going to be doing. So please understand where I'm coming from and where I have left and where I'm going. So I love you guys. Stay prayed up. Continue to be making great decisions. And you already know this is the Crossroads. And you know, wherever you see me, you know where I'm coming from.
I teach the Lord's word.
Yeah. So Have a good night, guys.
Fam, do you
Take it easy.
understand? Like Granny
Peace.
said, this is God's plan. On a Sunday, praying with the fams.
Yeah.
On a Sunday, praying with the fams.
In our life, in everybody's life.